Доброго дня.
Good morning. We welcome all of you to the National Ukrainian Roundtable on the land reform and decentralization. With regards to the land reform, it is important to be informed. Today, transfer of authorizations and powers is so important. Normally today, this is with the communities. And actually, everything is going on in the completely different circumstances. We are having the transformation in the land relations. And for us, it's very important to have not a stressful pathway in this regard. The focus of our today's roundtable discussion is addressed to the local communities, how they should work in the new environment. Participants of the National Roundtable discussion, Minister of Agriculture and Foodstuffs, Mr. Leshenko, Sergei Shirshov, General Director of the Territorial Community of the Department of the Territorial Community, the Department of the Community Development. Sergei Kubach is the project director on the land reform under the USAID-supported agro project. Good morning to all of you. I am Ivan Slobodyanik. I am the first deputy of the acting director of the Ukrainian Association of Communities. Actually, we see that so far, actually, we are on the pathway to the land reform. We would like to get from you the updated information with regards to what's going on at the level of the Ministry of Justice. What should be in focus of local communities? What actually is going on in the market of the land reforms? What is your forecast to this situation? I'm pleased to be a participant of this roundtable discussion devoted to land reform and decentralization. It's very good that we have a system-based arrangements in this regard. In the framework of the land reform, I would like to mention that our forecasts came true. There will be no chaos and agitation around these processes. Вас не чути, we don't hear you. На жаль, дуже погано працює мікрофон. Unfortunately, microphone. And we understand Ukraine actually for the 2 weeks works in the regime of the transformation of the land relations with regards to agricultural lands. We understand there are some classical relations, and what is the most important that we also analyze the dynamics in the regional profile, and for us it's very important to go smoothly based on the business relations. There are no lines, everything goes rather smooth. The reason is that lots of the information awareness campaigns were with the communities, with NGOs, with the Ministry of Agriculture and Foodstuffs, and actually they made lots of addresses to the owners of land in order they will have a full know what they can do, in order they will keep their documents orderly. Ukrainian land is with us. It is not decapitalized, and we don't want to haste in the processes related to ownership of the land. They should put the main focus on the agricultural production, and we also pursue all our plans in relation to the land reform and decentralization. We would like to deshadow certain economies, certain processes. Also, very many notary specialists, more than 3,000 of those do work in this environment. Actually, we are getting more and more practice, and we believe that by the end of the current year, actually, we will have a better understanding. We will base all our actions on these laws and sub-laws. Also, there are, we believe that also based on the sub-laws, very many outcomes and results of the auctions will come in effect, and there are some issues to be addressed. That is conservation of lands, also control functions. All these mechanisms are being worked on today. And for us, it's important to mention that we have a certain creative legislative process. On the part of the mainstream and communities, there is a good understanding, because we understand also some politicians also made some slogans. They were linked to manipulations. They often do show up on the TV's screens, but we understand that it was a pure manipulation. For us, it's important also to work on such issues as the right of disposal. We understand that we would like to have a true price for all this, for all the land. And we believe that with time, all our plans will come true. Also, it is important to mention that now we are entering the harvesting season. For us, it's important also to put on focus, because we have already harvested the first million of grains in this country. That's why, in the sense of the land market, in the sense of the ongoing work, everything goes smooth. No doubt, rural development, decentralization issues are with us. We are working on this, and we understand that more efforts to be taken by the communities. We organize different forums with participation of communities. In order not to have speculations. And for us, it's very important that inventories should be done by communities and in the framework of their rural councils. Also, they should have their units that will provide the land management and land control and land survey issues. For us, it's very important to tackle the land rental issues. So all these areas are in our focus. Minister and the team of the ministry personally, we were standing for the transfer of the right of certain powers and authorizations to the local level. And the most critical issue today is active participation of local communities in this process. We work closely with the Ministry of the Communities Development, and we get the different regional development, and we get lots of data on these processes from this ministry. There are some issues to be addressed. Certain issues are not fully regulated based by the Constitution. And we do understand that there are certain amendments to be done because we have not finalized the decapitalization reforms. And for us, it's very important to have available certain instruments. And no doubt I will be ready to keep you informed what will be is done. Also, we understand that there will be some transitional actions, and no doubt all our actions taken will facilitate your work. With regards to the land survey and land control units, for us it's very important that there are certain moves ahead. Actually, at the level of communities, they form teams which provide the land inventory. I would like to thank our partners, the National Association of Communities, because actually they assisted us a lot with regards to make up the registry of the geospatial data. We would like to ask you to be very active in these processes, because we understand that we should build up the new infrastructure. And for us, it's very important to see it in the reflection of different budgetary requests that should be met for the forthcoming year. We understand that all these projects will be implemented in 3D format. They will be digitalized, and there are lots of discussions that go on around these issues. There are some official sites, so you may get to it in order to be fully updated. With regards to certain sub-laws on the land use, specifically that is comprehensive geospatial planning, and also urban development documentation, how it should be built up, how all these documents to be submitted and to be approved. So with this, for us, it's important to have some norms to be developed that will meet both the state interests as well as the actors' interests. With this, we are planning to introduce some instruments, and we are planning to organize more roundtables in order to provide more clarification, better clarification of the participants, in order they will be used, this data will be used in order to invite investment resources. We believe that instrumentation to be provided under the effective law, it will be in force in order to develop this instrument, and it will meet the updated needs of the actors in this scene. Actually, we have a close relation with the Profile Association. We have a good understanding what is the land reform. We understand what is to be implemented through 2024. All the information is open and for public, and the ministry actually performs as a partner. We give the full support to all the actors, and the Ministry of Agrarian Policy works as a fully fledged and institution. Today, we have developed state programs related to the agricultural producers, and also this will be covered in the budgetary requests. We also do work on preparation of the program for 2022. We are planning also to give the support for the agricultural producers in equivalent of 1% of the GDP, and we believe that all this done to be in the context of development, not only of production, but as well as processing. We understand that small businesses, actually, they will be providing the rural development. And I understand that there is certain time limit. We have a roundtable, we have very many speakers. All people who are invited to this roundtable are really professional people in their segments. And over the past 2 years, I should say that we are the team. We have a good understanding what actions to be planned and implemented in future, and we do work on implementation of our plans. Thank you very much. Then we could get to you with the questions. Actually, we have a very good cooperation of the National Association of Communities with the Ministry of Agriculture. We have signed the joint memorandums, and 4 regions have already signed such memorandum, and this work will be ongoing in future. Memorandum is a sort of a real document, and actually, we have conducted more than 40 regional roundtables in different regions where we clarified different issues related to land reform, state cadastre, and so on and so forth. We've also planning anti-raiding to build up the anti-raiding platform. We will be inviting more institutions and organizations to the process to be in a good partnership. For us, it's very important to get a feedback. Feedback is a key issue. So the floor is opened to Mykola Fursenko, the head of the National Association of Communities. Dear participants of the round table, I welcome you at this national round table. Actually, we have very many critical issues to be discussed. We understand that the Ministry of Agriculture is pursuing a sort of a role with the invitation of some other institutions and organizations, because we understand that the processes related to the land transformation relations should be transparent and understandable. For us, it's very important to get a good skills how to dispose the land. For us, it's clear that there will be lots of, in future, joint efforts. And we understand that we are planning to convene a congress at the level of our association in order to discuss the most hectic issues, because we understand that we should go through this not easy path. Our next speaker will be Sergei. He represents the Ministry of Today, the development and preparation of comprehensive plans is a sort of an issue. Actually, how we should start, what will be your recommendations as the experts to the different committees or the rural radas? Good morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you. I represent the Ministry of Development of Communities and Territories. We are fully involved in such issues as the communities reform and decentralization. We would like to thank the National Association of Communities for the opportunities, because it's so good to have such national roundtable discussions. For us, it's important to focus on some provisions. Unfortunately, sometimes for the dozens of years before, the function of the European Charter of the local governance has been only on paper, but the focus was put on it only this spring. Actually, it's first in the time of Ukraine independence, we normalized the situation. And actually, we did it on the jurisdiction of the local communities. Earlier, there were some provisions that were very blurred because actually jurisdictions and powers were very much not clear. And initially, lots of powers were with the local administrations and their local structures. Decentralization of powers opens new opportunities. It allows the Ukrainian village to be more wealthy, and they will be able to develop their own infrastructure. And one of the key taxes that is channeled to this level of community national level is the land tax. But for us, it's very important to work on this. For us, it's important also to transfer the land parcels to the local level. And Ukrainians today will see that with these processes, they will have increase in proceeds to the local land tax collections. Actually, this will allow also to deshadow certain land plots and land parcels because actually they had never paid taxes. And with these processes, agricultural economy will be more efficient at the level of communities. Efficiency is linked actually not only with the increase of the tax collections, but with the efficiency improved with regards to the land use and the land economy. It's important to mention that our ministry has already conducted a number of activities where we invited local communities, and we actually in eye-to-eye discussion discussed very many important issues. Specifically, the issues related to inventory of the land parcels and plots. Also, as a second step, that was agreed with the representatives of the territorial communities. This is building up of their spatial plans. And for us, it's important that this documentation will be very important and critical with regards to work with the potential investors.
Документації громадам в мережі.
And land management documents and putting into internet. And very important step is lending the land for getting more money into the budgets. So we see when we made the first steps for this work of local communities. So these works are big, and these steps are important. Also, we said we raised this issue about the limits of local communities, and in a couple of months, this autumn, there will be new authorities for land management for getting limits to territorial community, and it will be the aim to find the real limits of communities, define the disputes, and to put the limits into the conduct. Really, we can have problems here putting the limits from communities which raised as a result of reform last year and the creating of the new territorial administrative system. But the law permits to put these limits in kind, in nature, and define all the deep disputes which raised with finding limits to the plots, and will solve lots of problematic issues which arise between new administrative units. And I would like to draw attention again that local communities, when they approve the management documents, now no plot will go into the cadastre without the decision of the local authorities, local self-government authorities, and the self-government authorities will be capable to register the plots in the cadastre on the basis of the permissions about such documents and according to the law, and the community will be capable to finance land improvement works on its territory, not only on the public territory. Also, there are today rules from raising village budgets, and we started to move into the land resources, and the local community community will take care about its own success itself. So I would like to draw attention that reform of a local administrative system is related not only to land plots, not land resources and so on, not only to creation of big financial resources of communities, but to the responsibility of local communities and the offices who them represent. Because due to these coordinated actions between local communities, local self-government bodies, and legislative authorities, the reform will go on and will be successful. And I think that due and thanking to local communities, associations, we will be capable to create a good reform, will improve the comfort of living of local inhabitants. And thank you, and thank you very much. And I think that we can ask questions which we will be capable to answer. And I think they will be shifted to another speaker. We will be also other people who will be connected. Will be Andriy Matrin, expert on land issues, head of Velikogaivska community, Kohman, Andriy, and next speakers will be connected, and after 12 they will be connected as well. Thank you, Andriy, for your support to the reforms which are going on, and this explanatory work, and I think that this work has just started. So what are the next plans, and which will be the support to communities and organizations, and what we are doing to normalize the land relations? Thank you. And first of all, I would like to greet Mr. Minister and all the team on the successes. Let us be honest and sincere. So what has happened in Ukraine? It is a successful reform, and this is a reform which is going on due to efforts of reformators, people. So Roman, please receive my greetings and thanks to all Ukrainian and Association of Communities and of course and to the team of experts which includes us as well. So I greet once again all the communities and on behalf of Agro program on success and possibilities which this reform gives us, and I would like to say that notwithstanding the problems, and so lots of things were done, have been done, lots of things should be done while introducing this legislation into practice. So people were sharing the results which have been achieved today already, and I would like to share our results and what are the plans for us in the agro program. First of all, we support through a number of programs, and we will continue systematic and continuously the support of communities, business inside these communities, and we will help to implement the land reform. And when we said about the legislatory side, so it was the number of laws and the draft law 2194, as I said, and 2195 have become already laws on how to manage the land and the decentralization and electronic land auctions. The next steps, of course, will be the support of such important laws like consolidation of land, the draft law on water use. Of course, we wait for the law on partial guarantees of loans in the agriculture. So these laws will create the set of laws which support the introduction of land reform. And so we will wait and we will support, first of all, with expert community how these laws will be introduced and how it will be done by the associations, first of all association of communities. But now I would like to draw your attention to a very important point. 24th July this year there will be a law effective on land use which will help them the communities to start dimensional development of communities today. Now in Rogan and Pisachinsky communities we introduce a pilot project where we develop this documentation first time in Ukraine and testing the norms of subordinate legislatory acts which are being approved by the cabinet of ministers, and we give recommendations and we make samples of documents how to introduce the dimensional plans of communities. It concerns the maps, the cartography and recommendation on those who need and who will develop the cartography, and the environmental evaluation of these documents. So to make this process very useful and comfortable for users and very related to new technologies, we created the instruments to use the lands which we presented at the forum Ukraine 2030, the land, and we presented it to communities, and in future we will renew this and to bring it to communities, so that the changes which take place in communities will be brought to the communities. Also, we will support anti-raid platforms. This year, we created with our support a certain public platform which included all in organizations well known, which will support anti-raid activities and will help business and the communities in cases if there are anti-raid risks. And maybe first of all we can analyze the activities to avoid such risks, and we will support the communities in learning and the technical support in creation of dimensional development of communities. So all together with the ministry, in partnership with ministry and the associations, we will support introduction of all these reforms which are accepted by the law now. And of course, there will be an informational campaign which we support continuously, providing the information locally and to those who need this information. So we will continue this work. We will reply to all your requests, and I would like to thank once again, which means that it's so very agreeable to work in this partnership team with Ministry of Regional Development as well, and achieve the success. So maybe it is only the starting point. Thank you, Sergei, very much. And I propose to come slowly to discussions and questions and answers, and would like to invite the head of Veliki Gaivska community from Chernobyl region. Are you in communication with us? Yes. Good afternoon, dear participants of the round table. I am very happy to communicate and to hear lots of things which are new. Our community is close to Chernobyl city, the community with 11,000 inhabitants, and of course, if it is happy to hear that rural development within the land reform is good for the villages who wanted to develop, and our community is one of them. And of course, I am the head of community for the second period already, and we just bear on our shoulders 15,000 hectares, and we have 15 villages, and we have almost 10,000 hectares of land, arable land, and so it is very pleasant to get for this period 1.5 thousand hectares of land outside of our limits. So we were looking at the beginning to replenish our budget, and we started to start auctions on the use of land, and so we launched 8 auctions, and in the process we were doing documents, and we put into our budget for 1 million hryvnias more, and when we were selling the the land which we got, and we provided for 10 hectares for entrepreneurial activities, and we got 10 million hryvnias, and the land reform is being implemented in our community. We are going through inventory of our lands. We work to change the limits of all our settlements to understand the strategic development of our community, because previously we were working in a Swiss-Ukrainian project and the Ukrainian US project, and we developed a strategy of development of our community until 2025. And of course, everyone understands that in rural areas, the main incomes come from the land, and all the laws which are accepted by the Verkhovna Rada now, they give our communities the chance to live and exist. So also the ideas inside the community, outside the community, did a lot of harm, because even community outside of the city of Chernobyl, we lost a lot of land, because the decisions were not taken by the local village town halls. It was given by the land committee and city committee, and even transferred 1.5 thousand hectares we lost. Because there was a rule of silent consent, and we lost land. And so we hope that the laws which are being accepted, and also the portions of land, we can say that we can plan our development, and we are looking for money to participate in these processes. And this reform gives a very good positive result. Thank you, and thank you for letting me participate in this roundtable, and we hope for lots of things ahead. Thank you, Andrei, and maybe you have a request and some applications to ministry or to the minister. So I have lots of questions already, and we got acquainted with Mr. Minister in Buchach, in Trebukivsy, and we are doing an ethnic festival. Honey Ternopil region, and so we want to make you a participant of our community. We want you to invite on the 25th, because we will see honey producers from even from the Ternopil region, from other regions, and 5 producers from abroad. And if you wanted to be involved in the processes, please come. And if you want. Thank you for this participation. I will come with my rape honey we finished yesterday. I'm very sorry I didn't do it myself, but I know the process. So if I do not come myself, someone of our team will visit you for sure, because according to my timetable, time schedule, I have foreign visits, and your region is so wonderful, so prosperous in potential, and I visited you last month, and your communities are so powerful, and they're so motivated, and I was astonished by your professionalism. We had more than 2 hours of questions and answers, and then we will communicate with you, and thank you very much for this invitation.
Friends, we have some questions from the audience, and in this regard, actually, could we have Andrei Martinov, who is one of the best proficient experts on the land relations? Andrei, you are with us? Yes, I'm with you. Andrei, my question is as follows. It's from Kramatorsk community. Could you tell us what is actions to be when, for example, when we have an inheritance, and, for example, the document on inheritance is lost, how all this should be done, where persons should go and bring their application? We understand that today we don't have such a body that normally which power was to issue the document that will justify the right for the land parcel ownership. It's necessary to get to the local court to provide some documents that will confirm such an inheritance rights, and probably more documents to be requested, and based on the rule of the court, all the relevant documents will be issued. And today, this is the power of the local authorities. In your practice, what are the most critical issues arise with regards to the land relations in the focus of the transformation processes? And maybe these issues are also very important to be in focus of very other communities. What we have some questions on the part of very many different communities, very many different questions. Actually, they are interested how the transfer is affected from the state to municipal ownerships. What is the law that governs these processes? Also important to get some clarifications on the provisions. Actually, all the issues related to the boundaries. Also very important that all these lands to be registered in this single land registry. For us, it's important to take all these issues in concern. But For us, it's important to understand that each hectare that is in disposal of each community should be used effectively. For us, it's important to get through the inventory that is governed by the law 2023, and communities should get inventarization because there are some land parcels that are not used. Some of them are used not as to the dedicated purpose. And for us, it's important how to work with these issues in order from the next year to start work on development of the geospatial planning plans for each community. All these steps will facilitate the process at the level of each community because we understand that these processes are accompanied with some bureaucratic processes, procedures. Very important for us are also issues related to mapping and geodetics, and for the next 1-2 years, all this documentation to be prepared by communities. Also, the next line of questions actually we understand that there should be the cash valuation of each plot of land. So for us, it's important to get to move ahead in this area as well, because also the processes on the land tax payment should be streamlined, and this will allow the community to be profitable and efficient. Thank you very much. Mr. Romaniuk, this question goes to you. We have a situation that the functions as some functions are with the Ministry of Agriculture, some functions and powers are with the Ministry of Regional Development. Are you planning to build up a certain structure that will aggregate all these issues? For us, it's very important to work more on such issues as the foodstuff security. We are in dialogue with the government. For us, it's important actually to work on the targets that will be with the agricultural sector. We understand when actually we will have a better idea, then we will do more work in order to see what powers will be with this or that structure. We understand that today, a certain distribution of powers, no doubt, will be between Ministry of Regional and Territorial Development and Ministry of Agriculture. And Ministry of Agriculture actually earlier was abolished, and we actually reinstated it from the very first from the new levels. Actually, we do work on the scenarios. We understand that Ministry of Regional Territorial Development, maybe this function of decentralization will be with this ministry, and development of the family level economy in the rural areas, support for the for the small businesses. This will be with us. Sometimes we don't understand because how the rural territories could develop without the agricultural economy, because actually at the level of the rural sector, the farmers are the key taxpayers. And for us, it's very important to take this into consideration. We understand that the land in this country is a real pearl, a real value. and it should bring some gains to the national budget. And we are planning to work on these strategies through 2030. For us, it's important to take into account not only the taxes that will be generated from the land tax, but for us also to work on such issues as amelioration and of lands and watering of the lands in order to give the rise for such sectors in agriculture as vegetable production, issues of detonization, also providing subsidies to some producers also is the issues. But all these issues also are in focus of our key two ministries, but no doubt there are some issues that belong to the powers of some other ministries and agencies. For me, it's clear that here we should actually consolidate more powers at the level of certain government institutions, and with this, no doubt, we will work in future. Thank you very much, Mr. Roman, for such a clarification. Now we are changing the session topics. We would like to thank Mr. Minister. We understand that you have lots of communications today, but we understand that through partnership we will have a breakthrough, and we will finalize this reform, and then in the step-by-step process we will be working in a more friendly environment. For me, it's actually a treat to be with you here. Today we have a plenary session at the Parliament, but I was invited there too. But I believe that such roundtable discussions are so critical, and we know we should switch from declarations to the real actions, and we should move taking specific actions. We promised to transfer land to communities. We did it. We promised to have deregulation. We did it. We promised to give the support to small producers. We did it. And we understand we do the same with the other activities that are planned. And we would like to thank you personally for such involvement in the work of such platform. Whenever I have a chance, I always will be available with you, because I'm pretty sure that the central government will not be a success in case they don't work with the communities and national associations. I believe that the future of the country is with the growth and development of the local communities. For us, it's important to give the boost for this. So far, we have already provided more powers with the communities, and no doubt this will allow us to be effective and successful. The floor is open to Katerina Reznikova. She's the expert of the National Association of Communities. She will discuss with us the territory planning issue, spatial planning, based on the roundtable discussions summing up which were conducted in many regions. I would like to move my presentation. Could you give me a clicker, please? Well, colleagues, good morning. I'm very pleased to be with you at this event, to sit next to such esteemed experts that were given the floor before. First of all, I'd like to sum up our work, what we have done in the regions. First of all these opportunities were opened for us thanks to the support of the USAID support and Ministry of Agriculture as well as State Cadastre. All these meetings were conducted under the slogan to implement these reforms and to have the reforms and the state cadastre at the level of the rural communities. We started with the law and then with one law, and then actually we finalized this process and it was summed up with the other law where we see that this process is finalized. 24 representatives from the regions were with us. From each region, we had representatives of the local governments, as well as we had met some of our experts. Also, we met business representatives of businesses, as well as we invited those who lived in the populated localities in these regions. They are interested in these processes because they see that the process is consistent, that there is communication, that there is a feedback. When there is this or that question arises, always we give the answers to the most hectic questions. All our roundtables that were conducted, they were organized under the support of the comprehensive land reform, under the slogan of the decentralization reform. And all this was done in order to implement the land reform in the country. For us, it's important to understand that we also, there was a close work with the state cadastre. We invited experts, we invited speakers who provided a very efficient feedback to the questions raised by the communities. Importantly, that for us it's important to implement and launch the land reform, because in course of our roundtables, we witnessed each step, how we were planning and implemented the land market opening. Actually, all the participants were very interested in this. Some statistics is given on the screen. The first round table was organized in April-May. More than 1,200 communities participated in this roundtable discussion. The second roundtable discussion was popular, the same. The leaders, there were Lviv, Mykolaiv, Kherson regions representatives. Also, there were some also certain clarifications were provided, and with regards to the number of communities, so actually we are proud with the trend and dynamics. More than 1,900 communities took participation in these roundtable discussions. It's 65% of the total number of rural territorial communities. What were the issues in focus of discussion at these roundtables? What issues are critical for the representatives of communities? And we see actually, maybe for us it's important to see and to judge what is the level of communication between the communities and local powers. As to the powers with regard to the land transfer, writes actually what the topical issues discussed during our first and second roundtable discussions. Lugansk, Dnipro, Lugansk, Mykolaiv, Chernihiv, Sumy, Kyiv, Zhytomyr, Khmelnytsky, Rivne, and Ternopil regions participated in it. With regards to the registration of rights for the land parcels, this issue is very critical. When the law 1423 was passed, this was mentioned by our speakers. The state registers did not register land ownership based on this law, and this was a very acute issue. And this mainly they arise in Kharkiv and Sumy Oblast. Actually, permanent use land lease, land rental, and permanent use, it was critical for Sumy, Poltava, Mykolaiv, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Odessa, Kirovograd, Ivano-Frankivsk, Chernivtsi regions, as well as Lviv region. Issues related to the services of public cadastral maps instrument at the National Geoportal, the issues as to the data publication, opportunities to publish this or that data were addressed from Cherkasky, Lugansk, and Zaporizhia, Zakarpattia regions. With regard to the right, sale of the right of land rental and land auctions, it's a critical issue for very many communities. Critically, it was in Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Poltava, Vinnytsia, Rivne Oblast. The issue of inventory of the agricultural lands, it has been raised today by our speakers, and it is critical both for the Ministry of Agriculture as well as for the Ministry of Regional Development and Territories. Inventory of lands is a critical issue for the entire number of communities because they should work on this issue persistently. It is very critical for Zaporizhia, Lviv, Kharkiv, and Volyn regions. After implementation of the Law 1423, lots of questions arise on the use of the land disposal from Kharkiv, Kyiv, Kirovograd regions. Historical, cultural inheritance. Also, the issue is critical for Dnipro, Cherkasy, Vinnytsia, Chernihiv regions. And lands of the Ministry of Powers. It's critical for Lugansk, Dnipro, and Odessa Oblast because there are some communities that are built on the lands of the Ministry of Defense, and for us it's important to have a good, clear idea of what will be the future. Also setting the boundaries between the administrative territorial units, mechanism are fully clear, algorithm is very clear. Two regions actually wanted to get more clarification, Volyn and Dnipro, in order to make their work more efficient. Also, some issues arise before the law was endorsed and after its endorsement. It's the control and use and protection of lands. Actually, Dnipro, Ivano-Frankivsk, and Cherkasy and Chernivtsi region were curious on these issues. The most important achievements of this project and our roundtables is that conducting such roundtable discussions is very critical in order to have a better understanding as well as at the level of the state cadastre. and actually they actively use their online instruments, and this allows to enhance efficiency and effectiveness at the level of the work at the level of communities when we speak about land management and disposal of land resources. Also, a number of issues and requests from communities were channeled to the National Association of Communities related to comprehensive geospatial data. And we are planning to organize more seminars on these issues, and you will be kept informed. First of all, I would like to thank speakers, all the experts that took participation in our roundtables. They provided a sort of a very good atmosphere, actually. They are very concerned about the reform's outcome. Don't feel shame to communicate. Be active at the level of each region. There are people who are responsible for these processes. Please get to them, communicate with them, because we have very many issues that could be addressed and resolved at the level of the local level. Actually, we live in the epoch of reforms. All the changes that have been started and transformations that are ongoing that we have highlighted today, everything that will be said in the second session of our roundtable discussion, all this is so important because through these processes we will meet the needs of our local communities. Actually, we should be very patient, put maximum efforts and get better learning. Actually, get registered for the training activities that are conducted by different institutions and organizations. It's a good chance to upgrade your knowledge. I do wish to use your opportunities by 100%. Actually, this will allow you to get more effective solutions and be a success. We would like to thank you for the information you delivered, and we believe that you will continue this information awareness processes in future. Marian Zablotsky, State MP, and he works on the issues of taxation.
Thank you very much, and I would like to thank you, first of all, the organizers of this roundtable, to Ivan Slobod, Janik, and Mikola Fursenko. So, of course, we can greet ourselves that the law was adopted. The draft law was being adopted for 8 years, and I would like to invite everyone to be concentrated and to give the feedback to our team as parliamentary members. How can we improve this activity, and also how can we identify the lands which were transferred? What is going on? What is the current status? Also, we will develop the temporary investigation committee. What is the state of the lands which have been transferred? What happened to a partial transfer of the land, and of course, what can we do to bring the land back? And I am the head of a local taxes committee, and Verkhovna Rada have just adopted a decision. So we announced a draft law of the distribution of excise tax on tobacco. And we initiate to distribute this tax from state budget to local budgets, because it is a ground for abuse, and the local communities heads they will have the stimulus to control where the taxes will be going. Also, you know that the draft law 9600 was registered, and it envisages minimum taxes from and so we developed a very thoroughly the taxes which local communities can get, and how if they don't get the taxes enough, how they can be compensated. Uh, So we call for local communities to provide the information on their provisions on taxes. And this is the last minute, and thank you for this invitation. Thank you, Marianne, and we wish you very successful voting. And I would like to invite Dmitro Kostyuk, head of a subcommittee of rural development. And Dmitry, are you connected to us? Yes, good afternoon. Do you hear me? Yes, we hear you, and I would like to ask you. Last week, with your initiative, there were committee hearings in Novograd Volynski, which took place very actively, and would like to ask what was the issues which was the most burning, and how the subcommittee will react, and what are the steps planned for development of rural territories. Thank you. We are sitting with Marianne in the corridors, and you hear there are some cries, and I'm sorry that the sound will cover my voice, but we don't have any other possibilities. Thank you very much. Yes, really, the committee hearings took place, and even 1 week before they took place, they took place in Verkhovna Rada. We invited all communities from Zhytomyr region, because I'm a majority candidate from Zhytomyr region, and it was much easier for me to gather all community heads in this way. But situation which was announced that was very typical for all communities from Ukraine. And that is why it was possible to give some conclusions in general way, and in which way we can edit the laws, and what can be the decisions of cabinet of ministers for whole Ukraine. So we had a discussion for 3 hours. We discussed the problems, and the head of the communities asked the Verkhovna Rada, and at the hearing which you were listening, you saw the replies of experts. Now, the deputies, they developed some requests, and some draft laws. Modifications would be developed. First of all, I would like to say again that rural development is not in fact about the land reform, but it is about lots of several spheres, and on these spheres we have the proposals. So the head of communities asked us that there are villages and city communities which have big resources. For example, there is a community with big amount of kaolin. They found a company like Sersanit, which tries to develop productive facilities. So there are lots of clay, and people they consider that they live on very prosperous land, and they should be more prosperous themselves with good roads, with good kindergartens. But unfortunately, they receive only 5% of the natural resources which are produced in the community. So this is what was the request from the community, and they wanted to increase the tax from 5 to 15% on the clay. And another problem is a medical problem. For example, in a police region and in other regions of Ukraine with bad roads, where there are lots of distances between settlements. For example, in Zhytomyr region, there are biggest districts or biggest communities in Ukraine, and with very small villages and very big distances between them. And according to the decision of the Minister of Health of Ukraine on family doctors, about 1,800 patients per one doctor, it's not correct because we cannot introduce it for the whole Ukraine with the same parameters. For example, in one village, it is enough. And if you go through the whole village, you will have 1,800 inhabitants. But there are small villages, and very little people living in one village, and you can cross the whole district and to have this amount of people on very bad roads. And so we initiated the hearings so that the Ministry of Health would change the coefficients and make them differentiated depending on the territories and the type of settlements. So this is a request to committee hearings, and there are problems like this are raised a lot. The Agrarian Committee of Verkhovna Rada is working on forestry now, and there are lots of requests from heads of communities so that it would be possible that the communities would be capable to buy the timber at a reduced price for schools, for kindergartens. Lots of facilities are heated with wood, for example, and it is only fuel for skills, for schools, for example, and the same thing, the plots of forests close to roads which remain without owners inside the communities. Not even the community cannot take them, and forest companies do not take them. And so they even used illegally, and these are the issues, these are the questions which were raised during the committee hearings. They are numerous, so not to go into too many fields. The experts point out on agrarian, on land relations. The first problem is a communication problem. Lots of heads of communities cannot explain to the inhabitants who come, and they want to understand how the land reform will work. The cabinet of ministers looks like it developed to introduced in every region, in every district, to have a section which could be working and explaining with three persons who could stay there and explain to people how to buy land, how to sell land, how to change documents, how to put the owners into the registers. But it works very week. And so thank you very much for your events like this. When you talk, when you speak to and explain to heads of communities, it's very important so that the heads and the managers would understand and tell the people and explain to them what would be the rules, how to live in the rules. not like it was before in the chaotic situation when it was sold without any rules. So people should understand what should be the permit, what should be the permit for sale, and so what is the procedure to buy and sell the land, to change ownership of the land. It is another story again. The heads of communities asked, they were unanimous, the heads of village communities say that the subvention should be returned for development of villages which existed before, where the villages previously, for example, in the village there was 2,000 inhabitants, and they were living there, and they were getting per year 3,000-4,000 hryvnias. So there is no subvention like this, and the people are living without it, and they ask it to be returned. How the mechanism will be developed, and it will be the mechanism for rural territories, and through this they will be capable to develop infrastructure project, put in internet, bring into the rural areas, and plus to such a subvention it would be covering also the city type villages. They are city communities with lots of villages which were accumulated inside. They would be capable to join this initiative on subvention and on development of such territories. So I think that for the first year of existence, it would request about 3 billion hryvnias, and we hope that this money will be distributed in the territories. But first of all, the law should be adopted in Verkhovna Rada, and the situation with the fund would be very interesting, important, and it was planned before even the draft law, and it was supposed that there would be the fund of development of rural areas, and which would be filled even through the operations with sales of land, and the citizens should feel that there is a direct connection. The land market is launched, and they should feel the profits. For example, they can sell land and repair kindergartens and hospitals, and so the issue is very huge, and it concerns development of territories, education, and science inside the territories, and so there are problems which are, first of all, they're related as first of all, it happens in our country to financing of villages. So we will finish the land reform now, and you know about the initiatives which are already existing, but it will not be the end of the story. We will not be capable to develop the village, the rural area, without money, and we need to find money. There are lots of opportunities to find investments, and there are other issues on committee hearings, and also I requested from Ministry of Finance that the state would guarantee the covering of current currency rate when you get the loans, or to get money for the rural areas is from in loan organizations, credit organizations, international financial institutions. They will finance, but the communities they are afraid to take money, because the state cover part of this loan. It will be compensating the currency fluctuations, but part of these loans are in currencies, and there was a community which took a loan when the currency was 8 hryvnias per dollar, and now they pay when it is 27. So they pay a lot covering the currency difference. So we asked the Minister of Finance to get state guarantees on currency difference. So it is one point to get money into the rural area. So another portfolio is private investments. So we went with Radoville in a small village, 1.2 thousand inhabitants, where there was one of the best Ukrainian schools for children, and one of the best hospital and polyclinics is being built through private and public partnership. The state covers some portion of expenses of heating for maintenance of the building. On the other side, the private investor who is coming from this village, he was born in this village. He invested into the new equipment. He invested in the new educational system. So there are 1,200 inhabitants, but there are 400 children studying in the school, and 100 children waiting the queue to be accepted to this school. Perfect conditions were created for the pupils there, and it's a perfect case. Maybe we will prepare a collective story from Verkhovna Rada for the about the people who achieved some success in their lives and got capitals, and if they would not come back to their villages, would not put money and took under their supervision some project, maybe kindergarten or school, it would be a perfect combination of private and public partnership, and a lot of money from communities could be saved. And third option, of course, it is state financing on communities. The draft law which will be passed on the roads, and also another fund which is distributed between regions. It is important to envisage honest distribution. I cannot say about other regions. I would say that in Zhytomyr region, the majority of the biggest portion of money goes to the regional capital, and the villages will not develop in such a way. So we see lots of people who are living in the villages. The villages are dying, and people go to capitals, and we need to support with state money those people who need that first of all, and locally. So we are working on this in this hearings of agrarian committee, and we will get recommendations, and the committee will get all the recommendations, very useful remarks about development of communities, and we are going on reforming on different fields on decentralization and land reform. Thank you for your attention, and thank you.
Гарного вам вдалого голосування.
Thank you very much. We wish you successful voting. We have finalized the first session of our roundtable. Afterwards, we'll have a short pause, and then we will have questions and answers session. And this is a good opportunity for you to ask all the questions. We'll be meeting in future. I wish you a good day.
Відкривають нові можливості розвитку територіальних громад. У нових реаліях їхній розвиток залежить від системного та розумного управління землями. Програма USAID Agro спільно з Всеукраїнською асоціацією громад підготували практичний інструментарій із управління земельними ресурсами громади, який буде корисним для керівників та працівників органів місцевого самоврядування, а також для бізнесу, інвесторів та всіх жителів громади. Що дає практичний інструментарій громаді? Можливість побачити свої земельні ресурси на всій території громади та оцінити їх потенціал. Стати спроможною у вирішенні земельних питань на своїй території. Оцінити стан використання та охорони земель громади. Визначити слабкі місця управління ними. визначити перспективи використання своїх земель у найближчому майбутньому, впровадити сучасне управління землями та вирішити проблеми громади. Для цього практичний інструментарій містить актуальні положення чинного законодавства, містить чіткий алгоритм дій, визначає оптимальні шляхи вирішення топ-10 земельних проблем, наводить розрахунки та надає поради зі збору, аналізу відомостей та планування використання земельних ресурсів на території громади. Завантажуйте інструментарій та будьте господарями на своїй землі.
Доброго дня, шановні наші слухачі, представники місцевого самоврядування. Ми зараз розпочинаємо нашу другу панель, яка присвячена буде практичним інструментаріям, власне, проведення земельної реформи. І я би зараз хотів долучити до нашої розмови пана Анатолія Мірошніченка, який, на жаль,
We are resuming our session. Also, we'll have more participants that will, with whom we'll have the Zoom communication. And all the participants of this session and speakers, they will allow us to get to what are the moves ahead. Good afternoon for all of you. I would like to thank all the organizers, our partners, National Association of Communities, USAID Agro Project. For us, it's very important to take part in the series of roundtables. Really, it's a good platform for a partnership and communication in context of land reform and decentralization. There is a perfect feedback because on the path of the land reform, we have moved ahead, but more work to be done, no doubt. It's clear that not everything goes so smooth as we had planned. Actually, we should correct all the mistakes we have made. So we thank you very much, and we hope that in future there will be the same fruitful work. As to the components of the land reform, lots of was said today. We have a very unique momentum when four very important land-related laws are coming into force. In order to have them implemented, it's necessary to endorse some sub-laws, more laws as well to be passed. And we understand some organizational measures to be taken in order to make this process workable. I'd like to start from the end, that is the law 711, planning law. It comes into force on 24th of July. It's clear in order to get this law workable, we need lots of sub-laws. Mainly, they have been already prepared. Many of them have been adopted and approved. For us, it's important to have some issues sorted out in relation to designated target. And we have no objection process already with a number of ministries and agencies. So there are some issues to be addressed, and I hope in a very short time we will do it, we will have them approved, and they will be agreed on with the national government institutions. And we hope that this law will be fully adopted together with the sub-laws, because the weight of this law is really critical. We understand maybe here the process will be not so speedy. Probably there will be a sort of a transitional period, and I call for the cooperation, partnership, to get the better understanding that it's very difficult to be perfect in everything, but we should try and do our best. We understand that currently, based on the feedback, we could make some adjustments and amendments introduced. As to the other laws that are so critical, the law on electronic land trading and the current law 1444, it's the law that is in the force. But to have these laws workable, it's necessary to prepare some sub-laws to be adopted through the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers. For us, it's important that all these auctions and trading will be organized based on the Prozora platform, and the responsibility on this will be with the ministry, with the government of Ukraine. For us, it's very important to have the process ongoing. Some documents have been already prepared, so a number of documents have been drafted. But around these drafts, there are certain discussions because for us it's important to have a full clear idea how these documents will work. Maybe some issues to be adjusted and corrected, but we believe that in the short run, we believe that it could take place in early September. This resolution will be passed. So in this segment, the work is ongoing. As to the law 552, here, all the sub-laws are available with us. The law is workable. On the part of the state cadastre, also work was done to facilitate the work of the notary, as well as some clarifications were provided as to the limits of acreage to be in one hand. And all these, with these clarifications, with the efficient work of the notary offices, this process could be finalized within one day. So, in order to have a full idea, over the previous time, before the 1st of July, 879 notary specialists joined the state cadastre, and now there are more than 1,000. And every day they communicate to the state cadastre more than 1,000 requests daily. It's a sort of a load with the state cadastre, and also we would like to thank the people from the center of the state cadastre, because they have retrained some specialists which have facilitated this process. So today we may state that we are ready for the land market in this country. Also, there is another law that has regulated a number of issues pertaining to the land reform. As a monitoring center of the monitoring of land relations is very critical. Monitoring of land relations also should be effected through the resolution of the Cabinet of Ministers, and today this document will be communicated to the Ministry of Agriculture for no objection process, and But even when we don't have this resolution, we have provided the functional that actually answers very many critical issues related to the agricultural land issues. The next section is land monitoring. Actually, here they should publish the data on the acreage and acreage of land that undergone annihilation. And today, as of the 1st of July, for us it's important to, to monitor the issues as to the acreage of land in ownership, the land, the agricultural land market existed before because land has been sold and bought. And there were very many different subjects in this process. The acreage of the land sold and bought was very different, but a number of people were apart from these processes. Beginning from the 1st of July, those who were not engaged in this process actually could become the active participants. After the 1st of July, also a huge acreage of land now entered the turnover, and the owners of this land have a better chance to manage it. As we see, there is no agitation in the land market. We understand that the land prices will go up. The owners of the land parcels, they do understand. They are not in haste to sell their lands, and I believe that in 2 months we will have a slightly different dynamics because a certain time elapse for adaptation for the processes. We believe that the land market will allow us to have a sort of a transparent distribution and redistribution, and actually we will have fully filled the niche of the minor and small farms. We believe that with this we will have different types of farms, animal production farms, crop production farms, opportunity to purchase the land under the crediting will do exist, and this will be the push for such a category of producers because it will be also to the benefit of communities. The longer land in use, more job opportunities are opened, more revenues go to the communities. Question? Many local governments are interested whether with this special decision the local Rada could limit the acreage in ownership. Thank you very much. Thank you for this question. Actually, I have been planning to focus on this issue as well. Briefly, на жаль, ми не чуємо спікера. But it's clear that but actually the suitcase without the handle is not needed for communities. It's a very simple arithmetics. That is, communities with the attractive lands we understand that there are certain strata of people who are hunting for certain state and municipal and communal lands. But every person in this country has a right to have in ownership 2 hectares of land. What the local authorities could do, local radas could do, they actually could resolve these issues through the land auctions. And actually, here we know that there are some limitations as to the lands that will be in these processes. It is based in the law. The RADA could include the list of lands that are offered for the auction. And then actually decisions could be revised with regards, for example, on the taxes to be paid. But it's the second opportunity with regards to the communal enterprises. I'm very sorry, Roman, we have some time limits. And my last phrase will be that we do work on this process and monetization because citizens have the right, and this right should be given to them, and everybody has the right to get certain acreage of land as it is provided in the national legislation. Thank you very much for your engagement in the process. The issues to the representatives to the state cadastre.
Свої геодані на національному порталі НІГД. І що для цього потрібно зробити?
The issue of a functioning is another specifics than the cadastre map and the state land cadastre. There is a decree of Cabinet of Ministers with a publication procedure, and there are procedures of NIGD about the powers. And if you speak about the public cadastre map and the state land cadastre, it's something different. It is another program informational system which is defined by the law and decree on the cadastre map. So it's better not to mix the different possibilities of different systems. NIGD portal and cadastre these are different systems. Speaking about state land cadastre, how can you help the local self-government and how can we help you? Within the context of my presentation is electronic services, which is introduced into within the state land cadastre for land reform. What is possible? We can make a focus on getting information. Current information which is reliable in different indicators and getting such information is so acute a need. So speaking about this issue, I would like to split it into 2 parts. What did we have before the 1st of July in electronic services and in the state cadastre, and what appeared after the 1st of July, which helped us to develop our opportunities and how to follow and for the buyers what is the average price, who cannot to sign a contract with a person, or it's better not if a person already overcame the concentration of land. And what we arrived at up to the 1st July with state map and the state cadastre map and shown on the resource allowed to use about 28 electronic services and administrative services. On the public cadastre map there were 31 informational and official information layers, and Cadastre is the only information system which provides official and objective understanding on state border, on quality and quantity characteristics of land and intended use and distribution by the owners, and of course where the people will go to get informational support officially will be the state cadastre. What are the portals and what are the layers on the informational map? Natural resource maps, defense maps, defense land maps, and also natural resources lands, and also we published Emerald network information as well. So for the last 2 years we were working so intensely to get the possibility, if we use the cadastre system, which will allow the other authorities which are developing the informational systems or cannot publish such a data, but place them on the state map, on cadastre map, and shows these possibilities. And finally, what happened after the 1st of July, and following the request of the law, we developed a functionality which is basic. It is not finalized, and we are working on it. But since the 1st of July, in the section of land monitoring, we publish today statistics on and data on number and area of land plots which were alienated or which were transferred for use, which were shifting from agricultural use, and we have the rate of rental and the area of agricultural land which were acquired by one person, a physical person, individual, and a legal entity as well. And if we look at the slide, so the monitoring of land relations is like this, with 3 tags where you can follow the dynamics of indicators through time and through Ukraine in whole, and by region, and in local communities by area as well. There are indicators which permit to see distribution by use of land for pasture, for forests, for arable use. There are 10 entities which overcame 100 hectares, legal entities and individuals, and separately our specialists. They work at the analytical portal, which permits through graphic possibilities provide the information and get the use of processing of this information in monitoring of land. In short, this functional which was introduced under the conditions of limitations in time since May, when the law became effective, and until the 1st of July, we would like to provide much more information, but we are limited by here. But what was said by Anatoly Miroshnichenko, we need them in which order we need to monitor the system, how to develop very detailed indicators, and when everything is these requests will be developed, we will develop our opportunities. We enforce our possibilities presented on the website, and we increase the provision of information in the cadastre and the state register of property rights. So so state geocadastre becomes a full-scale partner for communities, and the Association of Communities is very thankful to state cadastre with whom we work now, who help us together with local self-government authorities and solve everyday issues for local authorities and for local farmers, individuals related to the land. And now I would like to give the floor to Andriy Cherin, who would tell us about the activities of a National State Institute of Geodesy and Cartography and how they are ready to help local self-government authorities in the field where we didn't have any authority and to use the land. Thank you very much and good afternoon. Thanks for this invitation. I would like to add to my colleague that we have two systems. There is an official system and an NIGD system, and the system which existed before the law. And when on the 1st of January the law was effective and there was a system which was transferred into the form portal which was opened in May this year, and it is available now. The pilot project included lots of regions with big cities that the whole regions, and this experience became the base for methodology and the regulatory documents, and we cover with this experience the whole territory of Ukraine. And now with this portal other authorities being connected. What are the dimensional data? When we speak about dimensional data, these are the data with coordinates and the land plots and building permits and the plans taken by drones now, and address register and related to other registered on owners, on taxes. So all data, we would say, they are related through coordinates. And the massive of the body of this data is so big, and they are so distorted between themselves, so that to make any possibility happen, so to build a school, and or that the investor would understand if he can build a facility or not, so he can go to one map, get the data about the owner and get the plan outlay, which is obsolete very often, to go to the community and to solve all these things. It takes so much time, and for communities they need to buy very expensive systems. But for the community, these are the dimensional data. They are not of good quality. They need to be overlapped, overlaid, and we need to make a system where the person will understand how much land he has, where are the local authorities and who are the owners, and make all the data which were not coordinated to make them interrelated now. And so the main possibility provisions of the law. So all the dimensional data should be free, and that it will not require from communities and from private persons who are interested, so that we are fully compatible with European directives and other international standards. We do not invent a bicycle. We act to let the European space being integrated with us, and we do not create a new monster. So because the system gets the data from other systems, and a new monster is not created in this way, and other systems will be developed. So if the data were closed, they will not be opened industrially, but we speak about the state data. So we have several layers, levels, state level, first of all. So our cadastre map does not allow to come close, especially in the city. So in some villages, several hundred square meters will be only a small dot will not be capable to understand. To let us understand if we can build, and so we include the data from other cities and from communities who have this data, and so there is a cabinet in every community, so we make any data public, and we can use other providers if they don't have their own service. They can get this data from other floors, and so the system includes now 1,200 keepers of the data, private and public ones who made these sets available and public. So the main idea to change to reform the approach, the old Soviet approach. So very fast. What was and what will be. So if previously, as I said, the integration, we had to go into 1, 2, 3, 10 registers, we get the information through one click. If we presented in data previously with low quality, now the system will keep the quality at a high level. And if we saw the overlapping previously, now the system will require not to get the overlapping. For example, the investor wants what? He is interested to get communications, information about land, get information about limitations for construction, and then he will decide to invest. Or maybe an individual wants to see the environmental situation, crime situation, and he wanted to see the available land. So he will go to NIGD and to get these data. And these data become very approachable and easy to find. So what are the main spheres? First of all, to support the land lot as we speak, but NGD will tell us where are the lands and how much, what is being constructed. We can find even shadow activity through NGD. We can understand how many roads we have and lots of things, economical, social, and public we can find through NIGD, and everything the system will allow. The portal is open, and about the land, you see that it is used. All communities they have access, and NIGD, this is a platform will allow them to understand what they have and manage the resources. We see the total area of land and also public land and so on. So also for investors, this is the technical specifications, register addresses. And the data, they are coming directly from the sources, and so they are done in online mode. It's very important because we construct a map. So we are taking roads from other registers and so on. And I finish now. So this is a basic from economic development, and you know that the efficiency of a resource management is the thing where we should go. And so go to the portal, you can find lots of information and very much information for webinars. On the 28th, we'll have a webinar for communities. On the 28th, please, friends, go to Connected, and you will see them the very important and the in-depth point of view of the institute and the specialist who introduces dimensional data will be connected, and Mr. Tarasa Dzioba is connected now.
Actually, the land reform cannot go without the support of the individual farmers and small farms. So that's why for us it's interesting what support will be given to this category of actors. And sorry, it's a pity that I'm not with you in the studio. Today we have a sort of a dialogue with our German colleagues. Actually, we have started the first phase of digitalization transformation. This means that we would like to provide opportunity for the business development, for the good partnership between the state and businesses. And this means that we will have a transfer from the analog sources, the state agrarian register. Yesterday I had a discussion with the vice premier because they plan to build up a special platform. And the main topics on the portal will be state-to-business partnership. Different issues will be made available at this portal. And we have started the first phase of work on it this year. So the first version has been already accomplished. Then actually we got the feedback from the all the people who will use this platform. For us it's critically important. And we are talking over that what registers to be switched to this platform. The philosophy of this platform is as follows, because we understand that action is the action on the part of the government, and agrarian action is the name of this portal. Everything that will be streamlined to support the agri sector in this country. Also, we are planning to have the second phase of digital transformation. And all this information will allow to build up the best solutions for all who will be using this data. Because actually we have this strata by strata aggregate data aggregation and accumulation, and this will be a very valuable source for the local governments, especially in the rural areas. It's very important to get a good contacts with the Ministry of Agriculture, because the Ministry of Agriculture is responsible for building up the policy in this or this area. Because people really are ready to stay and work in the villages where they were born. And actually, AgroRegist actually has not been switched to the AgroDia platform. So for us, it's important to switch this register to it. Mr. Chavenkov, I have a sort of a practical issue. A question is, could you clarify the scale, the map in the scale 1 to 1,000 for the comprehensive planning. Could, for example, communities actually order such maps in a such scale using their own resources? This is a very specific scale. Actually, this scale allows us to build up the comprehensive spatial planning. But we are in transformation in this sector, so you as the head, one of the very important NGOs that work in this sphere, actually, for what purpose the communities need this geodata? What is the main purpose of it? How it could facilitate the work in future? Let's start with the main issues. We have discussed lots of issues related to the reform. My subjective point of view, all this will allow to improve living standard of the people living in rural communities. What we need for this? It's necessary to have the inventory of the infrastructure. And for this purpose, we need money. In order to get money, what do we need to do in order to have the inventory of the land? Also, we should increase revenues on the land rental. So participant of Ukrgeo, actually we do produce such maps. What we offer today to do at the level of communities. 2 years ago, we built up the GeoPortal UA. And with this, we will facilitate the work on inventory of all the data. And then they could be published in the portal. And then actually they could also prepare their business plans that will be placed in the portal as well. When community has in availability such an information, actually when community has enough financial resources, they can order these maps on their own resources. In case they have short resources, they could get to the local authorities seeking for financial support. But I understand when at the level of the local governments and authorities, they have a good understanding for what purpose they need these maps. No doubt they will try and do assist these processes. That is why today we do try to provide support to the communities. We work one of the community in Cherkasy region today. For us, it's important to understand really what is important for community. Sometimes in communities there is no good understanding for what purpose they do need. We understand that many communities have short, limited resources. And they understand that they have many other tasks to be addressed. But what we are talking over unfortunately, today we cannot extend this process for 3 and 5 years. So in such specific situation, we are trying to give the support for the communities. When we have the high-quality geospatial and geoinformation resources, no doubt it requires certain timing. And we understand in order to develop, based on these geodata, the spatial data at the level of communities, we should have the high quality geodata. These processes, no doubt, could maybe sometimes our national investors could actually give this support to these processes. Because for us it's important not focus on the local investors, but as well as foreign investors, because foreign investor will be very curious to understand what's going on at the level of community. I would like to add to what you have said. No doubt it's very important, because after my contacts with the community reps, I understand that some communities cannot get these issues resolved on their own. On the other hand, we should understand that there is lots of criticism on the bureaucrats, both at the central level as well as local level. But when you have this data available, this will allow us to get a control over the local bureaucrats as well. I'd like to mention that the local authorities' actions are more transparent because actually they act in public and every their step is pretty well seen by all the community members. I'm very thankful for you, for your engagement in this our national roundtable. I would like to say that the National Association of Communities, together with the National Notary Chamber, we are planning to build up with them the National Anti-Radering Platform. Also, we are planning to be engaged in legislation processes, and also we will be assisting communities to assist them that we will have the land in turnover, and in order not to make possible radering in this country, for us it's important to be fully informed what's going on. We are much thankful to USAID address-supported project. We would like to thank all our participants, our audience. I believe that this tables discussions will be ongoing in future, because with this we will provide better clarification for those who are engaged in the process. Once again, thank you very much. Goodbye.